Hello everybody, today I'm having a look at two high-value Chinese knives. Knives that really show how far that the Chinese cutlery industry has come, and also prove, in my opinion, why Western brands like to outsource to China to offer for products that are for their entry-level series, but offer still an acceptable quality level. And these two are in that respect peerless, you could say. So these are models by Enlan. You see it here on the blade. Is the EL02 and the EL02B. The difference is the handle material, which is a nice micarta on one, and G10, utilitarian G10 you could say, on the other one. There is another slight difference. You see that the G10 one has a stone-wise blade, which looks really pretty nice, while the micarta one is more kind of a polished, well, matte polish, it must be said, kind of finish, which makes that the micarta one looks a bit more posh, a bit more chic, for that is to say, for a large utilitarian knife, while the G10 one looks really utilitarian. So this is for your jeans trousers, and this is for your suit, you could say. So first, a bit of history. Well, these Chinese, affordable Chinese knives, typically you have to hunt for them on internet. There are a few vendors or eBay, because many of them are normally only for sale in the Chinese market. Main reason is that they often use features from inventions for Western companies, like here the axis locks, which is a Benchmade invention, and for which they don't have a license to exploit that in the West. Now, I believe that in China, a thing like, I'm not certain exactly how it is, but this kind of Western patents don't really work there. So they are designed for affordable workhorses in the local market, and you can still debate if it's acceptable even for the local market to use such a lock. Well, anyway, so if you want them, you will have to hunt around for them. Now, it is clear that, I come back now a bit in history, this was one of the first bigger ones, because they are often quite small little utility knives, well made. This is a Sanrenmu, yeah, it's called Lantis series, and now I wonder if this other company is not Enlan, is not the same as Sanrenmu, which is a Chinese cutlery giant. I wonder that they might be the same, because there is a series of knives that is available with the two brands. So, and this one, in the opinion of many, this was model 962, it's out of production, really showed that probably this manufacturer also made the Benchmade Fix. So that was a Western brand with an entry-level model made in China. And for many people, including me, they thought that the Chinese variant, you could say, felt sturdier. So here what micarta handles, and also the axis lock. I discussed this one already before. So that was, and now that went then out of production, and what then came out under the Enlan brand first, because as I say, there are not so many of bigger knives, unless you go to the real copycat industry of copying Western designs. But I'm not interested in copies of knives. I want to have something quite original in general. Well, this one, which I had a closer look at when I had a few knives from an Enlan pass around, is the EL01, and it was really, you could say, a ZT, zero tolerance for people without a budget. It's a very sturdy liner lock, a no-nonsense utility knife, G10, a flipper if you care for that. You can really flip it open. I always thought that's a bit vulgar to do, so I don't do it. It looks a bit like a shark with some imagination. I also think it looks tremendously ugly, but it is a very sturdy thing, and skeletonized. You can see there are holes to keep the weight somewhat down. Really quite a remarkable liner lock life. That way you can wonder, should I pay more if I have this for what, $12? Why should I pay more, save up for let's say, a tenacious, which is probably made by the same company anyway. And as in at first sight and even second sight, the same kind of quality. So, and you see, that's the pedigree is a big word, but the history, well, they now come with these two knives, which you could say are a bit the spiritual successor of this one, which is out of production because of the axis lock. It is also true that in typical Chinese fashion of, you could say, getting ideas from various sources, it's a bit of fusion, this design. Yes, you have the Benchmade axis lock, but you have a blade that, of course, looks quite a bit as the blade of a Sebenza. Now, there are more knives with a blade that looks quite a bit like the Sebenza. The handle otherwise is its own thing. So if you always wanted to have an idea how a big Sebenza would feel more or less if it would have an axis lock or synthetic handles, then, well, you may want to try this out. I just discuss them here mainly on their utilitarian value, and I think that value is indeed very high. I mean, the price of one of those, even with shipping to the West, would be something like that. The beautiful Victorinox Soldier, one of my favorite ADCs. I still think, by the way, between us, between knife collectors, that if you're beginning with a serious knife collection, I really think you should begin with knives like the Victorinox, like an Opinel, like a Duk Duk, really knives with soul. While these two have, like, in my opinion, many modern production knives are good tools, but they lack a bit of soul in my, let's say, for my romantic viewpoint, you could say. They are tools, but okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Some hard facts. First, the weight. This one is a bit heavier, the Micarta one, 148 grams. This one, the G10 one, is 140 grams. Compare this to my reference for big knives. This is the still awesome Spyderco Military. I think a fantastic knife still. Which has even a somewhat bigger blade, and it's not really less sturdy. It is because of it has a very clever handle inlay that it weighs a lot less, quite sensibly less than the other two, while the blade itself is bigger. So how they could have saved, however, a bit of weight. Look here at the liners. They are full. They are not skeletonized. So if they would have drilled a few holes in it, I think they could have gotten, let's say, 10 grams of it. Now, I'm not so anal about a bit of weight, you know, certainly not for the price, but so that it can be a fun exercise yourself to open up the knife and drill the holes in the liners. Why not? Why not? For this kind of price, you can begin to mod. So what else? Well, the blade, depending on where you measure, and I'm not certain, but when they talk about maximal blade length for legal reasons, I believe that they mean really the farthest that they can look, and in that case here from the tip to here, here you see, it's around 10 centimeters, let's say 4 inches. However, the cutting length itself, it's around 9 centimeters, which is 3 dot. No, it's a bit. Yeah, it's a bit less than. Bit less than 9 centimeters, let's say 3.5 inches. The blade thickness is a full 3 millimeter, and you see it looks amazingly well. The thickness of the knife itself is around 1.2 to 1.3 centimeters, let's say half an inch. Pretty nice clip in my opinion, stainless steel, but does the job, pretty stiff, which you cannot put elsewhere. So these knives are only tip up carry, which I don't like so much. I prefer the safety of tip down, and my yin and yang are not disturbed if I cannot deploy, to use a tactical word, a knife very quickly. For me, it doesn't matter so much, but okay. They have jimping here a bit, which jimping is also one of those things that are not a must for me, but okay, for precise cutting, why not? You can really put your finger here and really cut precisely. That's quite good about that, and they are pretty good in the hand, as you could see. The axis lock is yeah, it works well. What can I say? They are reasonably well centered, the blades, definitely for the price. They don't touch anywhere. I have had expensive knives that did touch the liners, which is much more frustrating. Ah yes, and something I forgot to say, and this one also had that phenomenon. They have the bad taste to use a strange kind of pivot for which you don't easily find a tool. So that can be a bit an issue when really demounting it, when you want to repair something or when you want to adjust the stiffness. However, what I think you should be able to do pretty well, I don't have it to hand, but with 3 needles that you stick in a cork, but you leave only a tiny bit out of the needle, out of the cork, so only a few millimeters. I expect that you should be able to make easily a kind of a screwdriver for this kind of pivot pin. So that's quite doable. What else? Well, I think also that the styling is pretty, well, it's not earth-shattering, but it's pretty nice in an utilitarian fashion. All this makes now the comparison. I have here a knife which is the Bird Caracara G10, which could well be made by this company, because we know Bird is the entry-level brand of Spyderco. It's outsourced to a decent outsourcing partner in China, and yes, it is a really good knife for a very reasonable price. I had some time ago I had to cut a large number of cardboard boxes. And well, that's a good excuse to use a knife if you have a white-collar job, because you don't often have an excuse to do a lot of cutting. And I must say, it worked very well. But still, I mean, for the price of this one in the West, you can have 3 of these. Oh, yeah, at least 3. Yeah, 3. Let's put it 3. So, yes, you have a better brand. In general, I don't think that the quality is better of the Bird. It is very nicely adjusted backlock, and I will, by the way, I want to compare it to the Tenacious, because they cost more or less the same, and it's a very different approach. It's a bit niftier, the design. You see, it has holes for the clip everywhere, so that's very Spyderco-like, a bit clever. Yeah, they all share a lanyard hole, while I don't think it's so important for these big knives. Is flat ground. That is, yeah, that's nice. The Caracara, this modern generation, is flat ground, which I prefer over hollow ground. It is true. It is true, but still. And that's why these days I think if you are hesitating for, let's say, something like this, the Bird or a Tenacious, perhaps content yourself with one of those no-nonsense utility knives, even if you have to wait a few weeks for delivery, and save a lot of money, and then save up a bit for what you could call a real, quote-unquote real, Spyderco, being a Delica or an Endura or even the Manix. I mean, where you immediately go to high-performance steels and even better fit and finish. So that's currently my opinion. So if you hunt around and for interesting Chinese-made knives, I'm less interested now in having them at a higher price with the Western brand name on it. I think these ones are largely sufficient. Okay, well, I hope you found this interesting. A short review on 2 capable utility knives. As usual, feel free to leave feedback.